Hi, I am Brandy Sevin, and I am from Racine, Louisiana. We have been using Microsoft Office for about 2.5 years now in our classrooms, and I wanted to share some tips and tricks today of how we use Microsoft PowerPoint in the classroom and how we prepare our students to take the MOS exam. So I have some few tips and tricks for you. And the first thing we do is we teach our PowerPoint and our MOS, all of our MOS courses within our Canvas course. So the first thing I wanted to do was show how we incorporate this into our Canvas course. I'm going to do it right here so I can go to the Canvas course. And I wanted to show you what it looks like within our Canvas course. We incorporate LearnKey and Geometrics within our course. And so in the course, in my course in Computer 1100s, this would be the modules. So we do use LearnKey, we do use Geometrics. It's adapted a little bit inside of our course. It does look a little bit different than that. And within our course, we have the lecture files that would come off of LearnKey. The students go through these lecture files, they follow the videos, and then they go ahead and then complete the assignments for the lecture videos. And then the next thing they do is the exercise labs and then the LearnKey post assessments. All of this really incorporates all of the objectives that are in the Microsoft Office Specialist exam. So if you could get a hold of the LearnKey course, the Geometrics course inside in your schooling to prepare your students for the Microsoft Office Specialist exam, this really comes in handy to help to get your students prepared. Some extra tips though in preparing your students for the exam is, first of all, knowing the objectives of the course. And so that's what I wanted to show next was the exam objectives. And it's not working like this. So let me do it this way. So the exam objectives for PowerPoint are shown on this site. So this pretty much is everything that's in LearnKey, and it shows what the students will go through to prepare for the MOS exam. So these are the different, and it's aligned with what is on LearnKey and Geometrics and what the students test with when they're testing on LearnKey and Geometrics to prepare for the MOS exam. So this is really great to have when you really want to focus on the material that's going to be on the exam. So we do incorporate that within our course. Another thing I do with these objectives, as my students are going through the lessons, and I know it's quite small, but I just wanted to show that what I provide for them after they complete the lecture assignments and they practice through LearnKey, I provide for my students some little cheat sheets on what they want to focus on, certain things they want to focus on that they should see in the exam. This one is for Excel because I have been spending a whole lot of time with Excel this semester in getting that course Quality Matters certified. So I did include the cheat sheets for Excel in here because that's what I had readily available. But what I do is I take the things that are taught within LearnKey and I take out those main points that I know that will show up in the exam, and I find these from the objectives that were listed on that sheet to begin with. And I use that to guide students and to help them to better prepare for the exam. for example, we know they're going to have master slides on the exam. That's the first topic that's taught within LearnKey. And so I focus on what the students need to know about master slides, what they should be able to do to accomplish the task within the MOS exam that will focus on master slides. So I offer these little cheat sheets, and this goes after they complete all of their lecture files. In their last submission, I give them the cheat sheets that they can look over to study for the exam. So these are the things that I put in my course that we always do. We definitely use LearnKey. We definitely use the G-metrics test. I have those students do them in practice mode and testing mode. I ask them to write down anything they miss in practice mode so they can get it right in testing mode. And the biggest thing for me before I show any other little tips is that if a student can do that G-metrics exam in practice in testing mode without looking at any of the little help button like that's shown in the practice mode, they can pass the MOS exam in PowerPoint. But then often we have students who want little extras to help them with better preparing and better understanding PowerPoint. One of the other things we do within our course that kind of steps away a little bit from LearnKey and G-metrics, this is to allow the students to actually create something on their own so that they're using PowerPoint and they're, adding those slides and adding that information in it on their own, and they're not just following a lecture and typing it in. It's not a memorizing thing. So we want to make sure they could do it, and it's a hands-on class. So within our course, we also offer capstone projects, or we offer case studies. This is a very simple case study that I have shown here. What the students learn in this one is basic skills, pretty much how to insert a slide, how to use different layouts, how to add pictures, themes, backgrounds, transitions, adding a sound, adding a link to a website. So this would be one of their first case studies that they would complete. And this shows me that not only can they do what's asked on these little practice tests, but they can actually do it themselves within PowerPoint. Another case study that we use is an About You presentation. And the students love this. And I asked them to incorporate those 3D graphics, to group items, to use smart art, to use the move the pictures, arrange the items in the front and the back, put them in specific positions, know how to use grid lines. All of these would be things that would be asked on the exam. So these are some specifics that are within my course. And then I have some extras. And the reason why I have extras is because some of my students come in and they've already used PowerPoint. Some have already tested within PowerPoint. And so they come in here knowing the knowledge of PowerPoint, they know what they're doing. But then I have some students that haven't touched a computer in 20 years. So they don't even know what PowerPoint is. They haven't practiced PowerPoint. So they start more at the beginning level. So I have all different levels who come into my course. When that happens, this is when I pull out those tips and tricks that I want to share with you today. So like I said earlier, the outline of what's on the exam is very important to understand so that you can better prepare your students for the exam. This objective outline is one place you can go to see what is on the exam. So this is the Microsoft Office Specialist PowerPoint Associate, and you can download this, and it gives you an outline of the skills that will be covered on the exam. So if you download it, open it, it gives you the major areas that the students need to work on and to make sure that they could do to pass the exam. So the outline is here in front of you, and then you can actually, even if you're creating a course from scratch, you can create it using the items that are on this outline. So this is a sample outline of all the things that will be covered on the Microsoft Office Specialist in PowerPoint. The next item I want to show is another tip on Microsoft Quick Starts. So this would be for students who really haven't used Microsoft PowerPoint and they really need help. They're pretty much starting from the beginning. Microsoft Office offers these quick starts. And notice they don't just have PowerPoint, they have Word, they have Excel, they have all kinds of different tutorials. So if you click on the PowerPoint one, this one takes you from the very beginning. It's very well made with videos, and the students can go in and look at how to create a presentation, how to save it, how to design it, how to share, how to give a presentation. And they have the videos, and you can practice as you're going through it. So it pretty much goes through a little practice of the different parts of PowerPoint. So this is one little tip, and this is brought to you by Microsoft. And then I wanted to show you another version of pretty much the same thing, but this one's broken down even more. With the Microsoft training, it shows you the quick start. This is where we were on the last slide, but it shows you how it goes more in depth of adding pictures and graphics, slideshows, animation and videos, and then the new 3D models, which came about in 2019. And so you can go through these and do the little practice and download the templates that have the assignments on it. So this would be great if you're creating a course. You can use these free resources for your course. Any questions so far? All right. So the next tip I have is some study guides. So online, there are various study guides. I found 2 study guides that will help prepare for the Microsoft PowerPoint exam. And this first one is brought to you from Microsoft. And in here, there are different questions. It has the same things. It pretty much, looking at it, it pretty much follows what's in LearnKey. But the examples are different than what's in LearnKey. And in here, you could see all of the different skills that are needed to pass the exam. And there are some, I'm trying to get to it. There are some activities in here that you can use in your courses and have your students complete these to help practice in the exam. And I still haven't hit the practice. It's coming up. There we go. So managing slides, and then they have examples of how to do it and explanations, and it shows you some little explanations on how to do different slides, how to change it. This would be in bullets, how to change your bullets and your headings and your slides. And so this is very different from the LearnKey. The examples are different, but it's another little resource that you can use. Another study guide is this one. It's another example of a study guide, and it has different. Let's see. But it's, again, it shows you the different components of PowerPoint, how to create a presentation, how to save it. And so this was all online, and you can use this to help in your course to practice. And I'm trying to get past the table of contents so we could see the activities. And this one, they have some discussions. Let me see if I can pull it up. They have some discussions. They have some fill in the blanks. Did you know? There's some videos that you can click on to go through it to help with the practice. They also have questions in here that you can answer and some discussion questions also to help with understanding PowerPoint. The next two items I have are YouTube videos. So my students always ask, where can I go? Yes, they are important with hands-on practice. And there are hands-on practice in there, and they are out there to purchase. So if you'd actually purchase the whole set, the files and the information would be in there for you to use within your course. So the next thing I wanted to show, and we had some students that took Excel and PowerPoint, not PowerPoint, but Excel and Word expert level exams. And we had one student who did it in 20 minutes. So we asked him, we're like, how did you take that expert exam in 20 minutes? And he said, I watched YouTube videos from Brendan Sinclair. So I have two favorites that I go to on YouTube to help with the Microsoft Office Specialist exams. They have subscriptions on YouTube. You can subscribe to their channel. It's free. And they have videos for everything. So not just PowerPoint. So I'm going to take you to his site so you can see it. Let's see. And it brings you to his channel. He will introduce himself. And notice he has 7,000 subscribers.
My name is Brandy Sevin, and I hold the Microsoft Office Specialist Master Certification.
And when you go in here, you can see all of his different videos. And one of the sections is for PowerPoint 219. So if you click on this, he goes through the lecture, and it's not the exact exam. And he goes through it. He shows you using the objectives. He shows the big topics that will be on the exam. So I usually send this out to my students, and I ask them, I say, go through it, write down things that you weren't sure about, what you didn't know, so that you can do well on the exam. But his videos are simply amazing, and he has them for everything. So it's not just PowerPoint. He has them for Excel. He has them for Word. He has it for accounting stuff, all sorts of things. So genius guy right here, that with all these videos. Another great resource for in videos, YouTube videos, would be Mike's Office. He's actually the one that I watched when I was prepping for the exams the first time. I didn't know of Brendan Sinclair, so I used Mike's Office. So it's pretty much the same thing. When you click on him, he has a subscription. And I have too many tabs open, so it's getting slow. And he introduces himself. He's a Microsoft guru, taking all sorts of exams, and he walks you through. And again, it's not the exact exam. He pulls out some questions. It looks like the task, but it's not the exact ones, but they're great. They're great. So if you have some time in your courses to share these, and I share these out with my students every semester, right before it's time to take the exams, I ask them to go and watch these videos to get some ideas on what's on the exam, because they get really nervous, and that's what usually messes up some of my students, is because how nervous they are. So watching these, they can get a better idea of what will be covered on the exam. So we have these two YouTube sites, which are, to me, this is the best tips I can give are these. This next thing is a nonprofit site, and I use this in my other courses, not just this Computer 1100 course, but I also use it in my computer literacy course, and it's called GCF Global. And this one, this site has pretty much information on anything online. You can go to this site and find information about anything online. And I use this religiously in my computer literacy class because it's an OER and it's a free resource. And so in here, there are PowerPoint tutorials where you can go in and do the tutorials. And I'll click on PowerPoint. It does start with the basics and then how to save presentations, how to work with slides. And if you click on it, it does give you videos and it gives you practice examples that you can go in and do while looking at the web page. You can go in and do it, and it's interactive, which I find really cool too, because you can click on it and learn where everything is. And they have this for pretty much everything online: how to use a computer, how to search the internet, digital literacy, anything. This is a great GCF Global. Remember that, it's great. And so this would give more practice on using Microsoft PowerPoint. So notice all the different examples. So I would pick the objectives that are on the exam, and that's what I would focus on when looking up off of this site. The next site I have is Lumen Waymaker. Now, Lumen is an OER. We use their OER in our lower computer course, which is called Computers 1000. But their OER information, besides their interactive stuff that's in the course, is on their website. So this Lumen Waymaker course has some information about PowerPoint. And so one thing they have is 10 extra tips for PowerPoint. And if you notice, you can read more, click on it, and it has a video on PowerPoint skills. It has 10 PowerPoint tips. And let me move my chat. And then you can go through it. Oh, that's access. Let me go back. Let me get back. And then you can look at the examples, like modifying existing PowerPoint presentation. And I can click to read more. And then it has examples. So this also has walkthrough information on how to do different things. Now, if you actually use the Lumen Waymaker course and you have it embedded in your Canvas profile, they do give you these slides and stuff to use within your course, but this information is their free version. So you can use it. It's not glamour and glitzy, but you can actually use what they provide here, and you can download, you actually could download the presentation here and then work through it. So this is another great site that you can use to gain more access on PowerPoint. What's great about Lumen is they have it broken into three portions. They have a very beginning portion, they have an intermediate portion, and then they have an expert portion. So you can look at what you feel the student might need and then use Lumen and use this site to help with the different parts that you might need extra help with. So this is a great site that you can use. So they have stuff about putting a video into presentation, adding audio. And we were actually using this first before we moved to LearnKey, but it didn't cover all of the objectives that were on the MOS exam. So that's why we switched. We switched over and did LearnKey and Gmetrics so that it could align. The next tip I have is LinkedIn. So I was playing on LinkedIn the other day and I noticed that they actually have some practice. Now it does costs, but you can have start a free month on this. And so this is a Cert Prep PowerPoint Associate course that you could take and preview. And I actually looked at the preview earlier, and she's not Marie, but oh no, it's not this, it's this. She's not Marie, but she gives a little explanation of the course.
For the Microsoft Office Specialist.
So it's Megan Bross, and it goes through, and they have examples in here, and this is off the LinkedIn site.
3 different levels of MOS certification. In Microsoft.
And so you can go through it and look, and it gives you some extra little tips on what to do for the exam. And this is brought to you by LinkedIn, which I thought was pretty cool that they offered these practice areas. And then the last thing I wanted to share was Certiport, because Certiport does have tons of tips for the Microsoft PowerPoint exam. And this is some tips that you might want to hand out to students before they're taking the test to kind of ease them, let them know about the time limit, let them know, answer your questions, be precise, flag those that you're having trouble with. Don't stay on a question too long, because you will run out of time. So this is just a little helpful tool that can help you for test taking. And those are some of my favorite tips. I know I went through it kind of quickly, but if we have any questions. Did I go too fast, Hannah? Sorry.
No, I thought that was great. I'm flagging a bunch of the links that you.
I can share the PowerPoint also to anyone.
Yes, and I think that will be great. I know that people will want to be able to reference some of these resources that you mentioned. I did want to ask if you have any example projects, or if you wanted to talk through outside of the LearnKey curriculum, what are some projects that you have the students do to prepare before the certification?
We create projects, and I had a couple of case studies, but these were the more simpler ones, but we do build on them. And so I actually pull out I go from what's the objectives, and then we create the case study from that, and we have the students create a PowerPoint from that. So pretty much when we get to the more difficult stuff, like it's really not difficult. PowerPoint's one of the better exams. We get the highest scores from our PowerPoint exams. The students love that exam. And so we pull out different portions, like adding 3D objects, working with the master slides. That's the most difficult portion for the students, is the master slides. And I often tell them, once you set up your slide for the company that you're working for, they might have specific colors, they might have, a specific layout they want. Once you do that master slide, then you pretty much have it in there, and then you can use it. So we have them playing with that and adding it. And the biggest thing is creating it from scratch. That's our biggest, so that the students could actually not just do what's on the screen, but to actually go in and create something from scratch. So these are, I chose 2, but these are the 2 easier ones that we do. And then we kind of grow on them depending on what the objectives are within their course.
I love that. Any other tips or resources, Brandy, that you wanted to share before we wrap up? Oh, that's a great question too from Keith in the chat. Do you find that many of these resource sites are blocked by school IT?
No, I work in a college, and I don't think they block anything there.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm sure that some of our K-12 teachers have some issues with that too. I know that YouTube and some other sites are a little bit harder to connect to. So
So a little trick that I've learned when I taught in K-12, if you take a YouTube link and you put it in a Prezi, I know that this is different from PowerPoint, it's Prezi, it's another presentation software. If you put it in Prezi, it'll open. I used to do that.
Love that little nugget. That that's
I
a
would
good
stick it
one.
in a Prezi and then it would open somehow it would open. I don't know if it would still work now. They might have closed some of that, but that's how I used to bypass it.
Awesome. Well, anything else, Brandy, that you want to share before we close out?
No, I hope this was hope you can learn from some of these tips. And the biggest thing that we had to learn to kind of like excel in the amount of students who would actually pass the MOS was focusing on those objectives that were on that exam. And once we narrowed down our curriculum to meet those objectives, then we had a better passing rate on the exams.
Yeah.
And just keeping those students calm, because they get stressed out when they're looking at the timer and they, get really, really nervous.
Yeah, and that's where Gmetrics, as you mentioned, is super helpful because it acquaints you a little bit with the interface for what the exam is going to look like, right? So
Yes.
that's
And
awesome.
that's what I tell the students. If you could pass that Gmetrics exam, you could pass the PowerPoint
Yeah.
exam.
Exactly. Well, I'm just going to drop into the chat. For those who are wondering, I know we've talked quite a bit about connecting to the objectives, and I know that Brandy shared a lot of these resources. I'll drop into the chat. If you're looking for what those exam objectives are, here's a quick link for you to be able to access that. This is the objective domains actually for all of our certifications. So if you have questions about other exams as well, outside of the Microsoft PowerPoint exam, you can go and check those out here. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here, and thanks for working with us as we had some technical hiccups. We're grateful that you're patient with us, and we're happy that you spent some of your afternoon with us as well. We'll close out from here. You're more than welcome to join the main room if you would like to see if some of the other sessions are still taking place, but we'll wrap up here and be emailing out the recordings for all of our sessions here shortly. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Hi.
How did your breakout room go?
It went great. Brandy's back in here.
Okay.
And I think, Brandy, you're on mute. I don't know if you're trying to talk
How
with
do I
us.
sneak in another room?
You want to sneak in another room?
I wanna go to
Where
Excel.
do you want to go? You want to go to Excel?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Let me.
Done. Go ahead and click.
To do constantly, and especially now towards the end of the semester, I told them I want you to crash Gmetrics' search. That's what I want. That there's no other desire from my students, just to as much as possible. So
Alan wanted a little clarification. Does it mean that the students don't pay an extra fee to sit the exam? I guess
no.
the lab fee is the.
Yes, the course fee. I believe it's a course fee or a lab fee. I'm not exactly sure with the administrative part, but I think there is a course fee. And also it's in a lab, computer lab, so it might be a small lab fee. Again, it's part of the course fee structure at URI. I am not the most, knowledgeable about exactly the fee. Yes, practice is always best, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, the 2019 study guide, that's what I use. I used to look over. However, I believe that book is a book that caters to people that already know. So it's more of a refresher. That's my opinion. And I believe the book lacks a little bit in terms of practice. There's very limited practice with that. I started with that book the first semester. I looked at that and basically I expanded. And I had one, but I took it off because I didn't want to spend too much time on this. My flow of topics differs completely. So I chose my own flow in which I thought this is what makes sense for me. For example, in the MOS book that goes specific, it's identical to the objectives of the exam. They talk about data importing, or they talk about spark lines, for example. I cover spark lines where I cover charts more towards the end of the semester. Once students got accustomed to the data, What does the data mean? How do I get there? How do I show a result, a report? Basically, I'm constructing everything up until there, and then I'm presenting visuals to, let's say, construct a report for management and so on. So I'm trying to, hopefully, I don't know if I'm succeeding or not, have a flow. Data import as well. It's probably middle of the semester.
If you click on the bottom where it says more and hit breakout rooms, it'll show you where everybody is. There's a chance to broadcast a message from there to all the different rooms.
Okay.
So if we need to wrap up, or I know it looks
Yeah,
like
we're good. We just have another 10 minutes before it'll close out. So
I didn't know, Hannah, if you wanted a copy of the PowerPoint.
yes, please. That would
Presentation.
actually be really helpful. Yeah.
I know I did it kind of fast, but
No, that was so great.
this
And
was my
I
first one. So my
No,
goal,
this
let
is
me
good.
tell you my goal for the year. So my goal for the year was to step out of my comfort zone because I stutter. I have a stutter, and I wanted to step out of my comfort zone and to use what I know and to start presenting. So that's when
We're really pushing you then.
yeah. So that's when I applied for the Certiport convention, the certified, and I
Yeah.
actually got chosen. And I said, what am I gonna do? And
We're
then-
just gonna use you so often that by the end it's gonna be an old hat trick. You're not
That's what
gonna have to
I was
worry at all.
hoping.
Awesome.
And then so I did that, and then I applied for the ambassador. And Connie's she's our rep for Certiport, and she's been pushing me because she's like, y'all grew so much at your college. She said, I'd really like you to present. And so I'm stepping out of this comfort zone of the little quiet girl to do this. So
We're not gonna let you hang back in the shadows anymore.
so I enjoy it. And I still teach K-12. So I'm kind of back and forth where some of my information, a lot of times I still have that K-12 mindset when I'm teaching, even college level. So
Awesome. Well, you did such a wonderful job. If you could send me your slides, that would be
I will
very
do that.
helpful.
That way
Yeah.
they can have all the links.
Yes, all those links would be super helpful. And I'm sure that I'll end up turning that into a blog post as well.
Okay.
With all of those links kind of in one place for everyone
Okay.
who wants to access those. So I'll send that to you before we push that out to see if there's anything else that you wanted to add in.
Awesome.
But thanks for spending part of your afternoon with us and
Oh, it
sharing
was
all of that. It
fun.
was wonderful. Good. Well, we'll give you back the last couple minutes. So if you want to join another room, you're welcome to do that. Otherwise, feel free to
Yeah,
drop
good.
off.
I'll email it to you. And
Perfect.
thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandy. We appreciate it. All right. For those